All right, so also breaking right now, a jury found Daniel Penny not guilty for criminally negligent homicide. That's the lesser charge in the deadly chokehold death of Jordan Neely on that New York City subway. So last week, and we reported this here on CBS News 24/7, that jury was deadlocked on the more serious charge of manslaughter. CBS News New York's Alice Gaynor tells us the reaction in the courtroom to that verdict was, well, watch what she has to say.
Well, in the courtroom when that verdict was read, there was an extremely loud reaction. I can't remember another trial I've covered where there was such a reaction. Typically, the judge reminds people to keep things to themselves and stay quiet, but there was no such reminder. And when the foreperson was asked what the verdict was, she paused a moment and said, "Not guilty." Thunderous, loud applause. You had members of Jordan Neely's family very upset, also yelling out. Jordan Neely's father was asked to leave the courtroom. There was some swearing going on. One activist who has been outside demonstrating every morning was inside and yelled something at Penny like, "It's a small world, buddy." We saw Daniel Penny slightly turn his head where I saw a slight smile. Normally he stares straight forward and we can't see much of a reaction from him at all. His two defense attorneys hugged each other, smiling. They left the courtroom and we're told they left the courthouse pretty quickly. His attorneys and Daniel Penny not stopping to speak with cameras. We know a short time ago, Jordan Neely's family did stop and speak. They are very upset with this verdict. It came rather quickly this morning. You may remember on Friday, prosecutors moved to dismiss the top charge after the jury had been deadlocked on that first count, which was manslaughter in the second degree. So the judge granted it. That count was tossed out on Friday, and today they were to begin their deliberations anew this morning on the lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. That, if convicted, was carrying a sentence of up to 4 years. But again, the jury in the trial of Daniel Penny voted to acquit him.
Well, New York DA Alvin Bragg released a statement on this case moments ago. He says the jury has now spoken and his office deeply respects the jury process and the verdict. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us now. Welcome, Jessica. It's nice to have you with us. Okay, so last week the jury said they were in a deadlock. For the lesser charge, it seemed the jury reached a decision pretty fast after the judge sent them back to the table. Is that surprising to you?
To be honest, it is a bit surprising in the sense that the fact that they deadlocked on the manslaughter charge, which is the more serious charge, which is harder for the prosecutors to prove, indicates that there was one person in that room, at least one person, who was ready to convict. Again, we don't know if it was 6-6, if it was 11-1, but then when they moved down to that lower charge of criminally negligent homicide, you would assume that that one person ready to convict on manslaughter would hold, and maybe there would be more people who would say, okay, for the lesser charge, we're comfortable with the conviction here. Obviously, that's not what happened, but am I surprised just looking at the willingness of at least one person to convict for the higher offense? Yes, I am somewhat surprised.
Right, it's a turnaround. Okay, so the family of Jordan Neely, who's the man who died at the hands of Penny, spoke after the announcement. We want to get your reaction, but let's first play that.
I just want to say I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now? I had enough of this. The system is rigged. Come on, people. Let's do something about this.
Here we stand once again in front of this unjust system. I stood here 10 years ago because they did not give justice to my son with the chokehold. I fought hard to get the anti-chokehold bill passed, which did pass. But it shouldn't only be for police officers, it should be for civilians also. No one deserves to be choked to death. No one. And you know, we're in that courtroom and people are cheering for the verdict. They made the loudest noise, the judge did nothing. But when his father spoke out, they put him out the courtroom. Is that justice or what?
So highly charged emotions outside the courtroom. My question for you, with that amount of feeling behind this decision, do we know if the family will appeal or respond in any way in a legal sense?
Well, we know that they've already responded with a previously filed civil suit. And we do see this a lot of times where there are parallel tracks. There's a criminal case that's brought by the government. Obviously, the remedies are very different for a criminal case where the potential remedy is jail time versus a civil case where the remedy is monetary damages. But the family is moving forward with a civil case. It's obviously based on the same set of facts, but different causes of action, a lower burden of proof, and the possibility that they could receive not just monetary damages, but I think what's also important to them is a statement by jurors that there was some wrongdoing here. With respect to an appeal, I will say it's always possible, but you need grounds for an appeal, and the criminal justice system does tend to favor finality, particularly when it comes to jury verdicts.
Jessica Levinson, thank you so much for weighing in on this today.